What's up guys, I'm Alcavian. Today, I wanted to make a quick PvP ranking video for Season Discovery Phase 4. This is going to be two different PvP rankings. The first will be which classes are the strongest, and the second is which classes are the easiest to play for the average player. This is my opinion from what I have been seeing PvPing all day. Before we begin, for the first half of the tier list, A is where I would like all classes to be balanced to. If they are S tier, then I believe they should be tuned down slightly, and if below it, buffed. This first half will be quick. I'll go into a little bit more detail into the second half. Alright, let's begin with the druid. Starting with the Boomy, this spec is probably the strongest of them all. Starfall being the scariest of their spells, allowing them to take out multiple players with ease if they are not CC'd, with Starfire nuking their main target. Bearer Druid is quite good as well, as they are able to do insane damage and then swap to Bear and be very tanky as you bleed to death. And Russell Druid is probably one of, if not the best healer for PvP in Season of Discovery. Feral and Resto go into the A tier, but Boomy is S tier. Onto the Mage. The Mage is one of those classes that have been God mode since Classic, and in Season Discovery is no different. A good mage is almost unkillable with their insane self-healing, the one-shot potential, and polymorph to constantly reset the fights if things get a little hairy, making them one of the strongest classes in Season Discovery in the right hands. S tier they go. The Rogue is another God mode class. They are currently one of the top DPS in PvE, but on top of the insane damage they do, they have a crazy amount of CC, like Sap, Cheap Shot, Gouge, Kidney Shot, Blind. They can vanish and re-stun you in preparation to do it all over again. In the right hands, a Rogue is very scary. S tier. Shaman would be another God mode class. They are very tanky, have great instant cast self-healing, one-shot potential, with an insane mana pool, and of course, Spirit Wolves. Enhancement is only slightly weaker than Elemental, which is why Enhancement goes into the A tier, but overall, Shaman goes into the S tier. Next, we have Warrior. Warrior seems weak to most players, but I have witnessed some Chads running around displaying their true power. Protection Warrior is incredibly tanky, especially if they pop Shield Wall. They also deal a surprising amount of damage. Arms Warrior also does very good damage, while Mortar Strike reduces the target's healing by 50%, stacked on top of the PvP healing reduction. But they are very gear dependent. Warriors go into the B tier. Onto the Hunter. A lone wolf marksman does a ridiculous amount of damage with Chimera Shot, Aim Shot, Explosive Shot, and Explosive Trap, constantly one-shotting people on the battlefield with ease, while a Beast Mastery pet can kill you before you kill it. S tier they go. Next we got Priest. Discipline is probably just as good as Restore Druid healing in PvP. They are very strong and reliable, with decent mana sustain. Shadow Priest does good damage, but I notice most do not run Dispersion as they lose another good rune, making them easier to kill if they do not nuke their target first, or the fear resists. But even so, they will go into the A tier. Onto the Demons of the Land Warlock. This class does crazy amounts of damage when they get the dots going, while being able to suck you dry. And if they are in Metamorphosis form, they are almost unkillable for most classes. Warlocks go into S tier. Now, the Paladin. We are very strong, but it begins by having faith in the light. Retribution deals insane burst if you Seal Twist or go Reckoning, but has a weak mana pool. A healing paladin is strong, but the weakest of the healers in PvP. Shakaden is very strong now, but becomes broken next phase. and protection is only good with the 6-piece tier 1 set versus melee. And yes, bubble is strong, but overall, the paladin goes into the A tier. Shockedin, however, would be S tier. As you can see, there are no classes in C or D tier. That's because I feel like every class is quite strong right now. But that is mainly due to the burst meta. Next phase, we will have 30% physical damage reduction and 40% magical damage reduction. So I'll be releasing an updated opinion of the PvP ranking next phase with all the new balance changes. If you're with me so far, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Alright, now let's reset this and turn it into which classes are the easiest to dominate people on and why. S being easy and the D being hard. Not that kind of video. Onto the natures level, we got Druid. They have multiple forms, each with different utility, making Druid as a whole a class with higher skill ceiling, meaning in the hands of a true gamer, they are very powerful. But Druid does have a spell that turns their fights into easy mode. Starfall. This spell is a press it and forget it kind of spell that can kill multiple players attacking you with ease. So long as you don't get CC'd, of course. It has a 1.5 minute cooldown, but with the 6-piece tier set, it brings it down to 45 seconds. Druid as a whole will be B tier for the difficulty, but a booming using Starfall will bump it up to S tier. Next we got the Smarties, Mage. This class in the average hands is dog water. They get destroyed so fast, they go never resetting with polymorph, always trying to one-shot the other player. In a good player's hands, they are a god mode class. With the insane healing they have that can be preloaded and used instantly whenever they are ready for low mana cost, while the 2-piece tier 1 set makes them immune while using evocation, being able to blink, then run away, heal, or do damage for 10 seconds, to then teleport back to where they originally were and then blink again, makes them especially difficult to beat. They also have polymorph, of which they can use as many times as they like throughout the fight to constantly reset, allowing them to drink and eat while the other class stays dry on mana. But for the average player, Mage goes into C tier. For the Rogue, another god class, they have such a huge toolkit that the average rogue hasn't figured out how to use it well. In the hands of a good rogue, they will dominate the other players with sap, cheap shot, gouge, kidney shot, banish, blind, and preparation. But they also use their stuns with no gaps in between to prevent you from getting anything off. So if you trinket any of this, the rogue will blind you, sap, eat to full, then restart with the CC chain. But now, rogues have a poison that reduces the target's armor by 2,550. This alone makes bad rogues who just spam backstab or mutilate difficult to beat. For the average player, this class is A tier. And now, Shaman. Shaman. Where do I begin? For the elemental Shaman, they have Shield Mastery, Earth Shield, and Riptide, making them incredibly tanky with insane instant self-healing. They have a 6-second kick, the ability to purge 2 magic spells at once, Burn, making their Lava Burst 100% crit, and insane one-shot potential. Spirit Wolves giving them 60% movement speed over 30 seconds while healing the Shaman, dealing damage, and stunning the targets. All this while never having a mana problem. This isn't even including the racials from the Horde. Like for example, the 25% chance to resist stuns, Nork. In my opinion, Shaman is one of the easiest classes to dominate every other player with ease. S tier, There you go. Next, we got Warrior. Warrior in solo PvP is one of the hardest classes to play, as you lack self-sustain, requires macros to make stance dancing easier, and is very gear dependent. It's also easy to fall into the warrior brain where you just charge in and die. Warriors are fun, but for the average player they are C tier. However, they are easier for the average PvPer than the mages. On to the hunters. This is another great class for the average player. Solo PvP, they can easily two-shot people in traps with aim shot and chimera shot if they are marksmen, and a pet that's able to 1v1 players if they are beast mastery. But they are squishy, so if the one shot fails, some hunters visibly panic. They are also able to solo tons of content, but that's besides the fact. So, for the normies, hunter goes into S tier. Alright, for the priest, I'd say they are in the middle of the pack. Not too hard, not too easy. A good balance for the average player with small things separating the elites. B tier they go. Next we have Warlock. The drain life alone makes Warlocks difficult to kill for the classes, especially if they are on demon form. Most classes can't remove the drain life, making them quite the challenge. This is the main reason that makes Warlocks one of the best for the average player. A tier. And last but not least, let's talk about those who follow the light. A prop paladin using the 6-piece tier 1 set will dominate melee classes without even having to attack back, but they are weak versus casters. Holy Paladin only has one instant heal, so it's difficult to be the main healer in a group PvP setting when most of your heals are casted or are single target, making it one of the harder healers to play in PvP. But for the ranking, let's focus on red. Now, this may sound biased, but listen, the average player, retribution is not easy, which is why many will instead run Reckoning for the one-shot potential on the auto attack. Their main mana pool is very shallow. After one full rotation, the Retribution Paladin is already around 50% mana, while their main heal, Divine Light, costs 35% of their mana bar. Their gap closer, Divine Steed, lasts 3 seconds, but is broken on any cast. The main damage from Paladin comes from the seals, but they are consumed when they use Judgment, leaving the player to sometimes forget to reapply it. If the Paladin is not using the 6-piece tier set, seal twisting in PvP within the 400 millisecond window will be very challenging for the average player. The Red Paladin requires macros and proper gearing to be played optimally. But they do have 2 things going for them: bubble and lay on hands. So for the average player, I'd say that Retribution Paladin will go into the C tier for PvP. But that was pretty much it. If you made it this far, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.